Today, we're uncorking one of the most incredible stories in the entire world of wine. It's about a grape with a seriously dramatic history, a tale of being lost, totally forgotten, and then rediscovered in the most unlikely place imaginable. Get ready for a story of mistaken identity and a comeback for the ages.
So, this all boils down to one central question, right? How on earth did a noble French grape just vanish from its homeland, get declared extinct, only to reappear over a century later as the absolute icon of Chilean wine? Well, let's dive in and find out.
Now, our story doesn't begin in the Andes Mountains of Chile. No. It starts in the prestigious Old World vineyards of Bordeaux, France, where Carmenère was once considered royalty.
So back in the early 1800s, Carmenère was a big deal. It stood right alongside famous grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot as one of the 6 original red grapes of Bordeaux. But here's the thing, it was kind of a diva. It was super difficult to grow, it got sick easily, and it needed a really long, warm season to get perfectly ripe. Then, in the 1860s, disaster struck. A tiny aphid from America called phylloxera just swept through Europe, destroying vineyards. It attacked the roots of the vines, and the European grapes had zero immunity. So winemakers had a tough choice. They replanted the hardy grapes, the reliable ones like Merlot and Cab, but the fussy, difficult Carmenère? Nah, it just wasn't worth the trouble. They basically left it for dead.
And just like that, its chapter in France was slammed shut. In its own homeland, Carmenère wasn't just forgotten. It was officially considered extinct. A noble grape completely vanished from the pages of wine history. Or so everyone thought.
But here's the twist. While its story was ending in Europe, our grape was secretly starting a whole new life, in disguise, halfway across the world.
You see, back in the 1850s, and this is key, before the plague wiped everything out in France, Chilean wineries were looking to level up their winemaking. So they imported a bunch of cuttings from the best vineyards in Bordeaux. And mixed in with all those Merlot cuttings, completely by accident, were cuttings of Carmenère. Nobody had a clue. For over 140 years, it grew in Chile, hiding in plain sight.
For generations, everyone in Chile just figured it was this weird type of Merlot. They even gave it a nickname, Merlot Tardia, which just means late Merlot, because it took so much longer to ripen than the other Merlot vines. But there were clos. The leaves on these particular vines turn this beautiful crimson color in the fall, which real Merlot just doesn't do. And the wine it made was different. It was spicier and it had this really unique savory note, kind of like roasted red pepper. Still, the masquerade went on for decades.
So after more than a century of this mistaken identity, the truth was about to come out in a single historic moment that would completely change the game for Chilean wine. The year was 1994. You're going to want to remember that date. It's the moment the imposter was finally and officially unmasked. So how did they figure it out? Well, it all comes down to a really cool science called ampelography. Think of it like a kind of forensic science for grapevines. Experts can identify different varieties just by looking at the shape of their leaves and berries. And Chile was about to get a visit from one of the world's leading experts. A French ampelographer, Jean-Michel Boursiquot, was visiting a vineyard in Chile's Maipo Valley. He's looking at these vines of the so-called late Merlot, and he just knew something was off. The shape of the leaves, the way the grape clusters looked, it just wasn't adding up. After doing his analysis, he made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the wine world. This wasn't Merlot. It was the long-lost, presumed extinct Carmenère of Bordeaux. The great imposter had finally been found out.
Now you might think the story ends there, right? Happy ending. But this discovery was really just the beginning. The Chilean winemakers had a whole new challenge. If this wasn't Merlot, then what was it? And more importantly, how could they make it great?
So the winemakers got to work, and they quickly learned that Chile's unique geography, squeezed between the cool Pacific Ocean and the massive Andes Mountains, created the perfect conditions for this grape. Different valleys bring out totally different sides of its personality. The warmer Maipo Valley makes these big, rich, full-bodied styles. The cooler Maule Valley gives you wines with higher acidity and bright red fruit. And the Rapel Valley, especially the Colchagua part, really became the sweet spot, known for producing super elegant and complex Carmenère.
They also had to completely relearn how to make the wine. Step 1 was all about patience. They had to let the grapes hang on the vine long enough to get fully ripe, which got rid of those harsh, green flavors it was known for back in France.
Second, they figured out exactly how long to let the juice soak with the grape skins to get that deep color and, crucially, those soft, velvety tannins. And third, they learned how to use oak barrels just right, to add a little complexity, some vanilla, some spice, without totally hiding the grape's unique character.
Okay, so after this absolutely wild journey of being lost, found, and then perfected by Chilean winemakers, what does this reborn icon actually taste like?
Carmenère really has one of the most distinctive profiles out there. When you smell it, you just get this explosion of ripe dark fruits. Think blackberry, black cherry, plum. But right underneath all that fruit, there's this amazing layer of spice, like black pepper, sometimes even a hint of paprika. And then you get its signature note, a savory, almost herbal character that people often describe as roasted red pepper. But the real magic, it's the texture. It's famous for having these incredibly soft, rounded, velvety tannins, which just makes it so smooth and a total pleasure to drink.
And that unique profile makes it a natural fit for Chilean food. The wine's smooth texture is just perfect for grilled meats at a barbecue or an asado. Its savory, peppery notes are a brilliant match for the spiced meat filling in an empanada, and it has enough fruit and structure to stand up to everything from the sweet and savory corn pie, pastel de choclo, to a hearty beef stew like charquicán. It is, quite literally, chili in a glass. So from its humble mistaken beginnings as an imposter grape, Carmenère has risen to some pretty incredible heights. Today, it's not just some everyday grape. It is the star of some of South America's most iconic and world-renowned wines. Wines like Montes Purple Angel, Carmen de Pumo, and Clos Palta. I mean, these are wines that command serious respect and pretty high prices, which just goes to show you the lost grape of Bordeaux has well and truly found its home.
So, I have to ask, from being declared extinct in its homeland to becoming the celebrated national identity of a country on a whole other continent, is this the single greatest comeback story in the entire world of wine? I'll let you be the judge.